Howdy, good folks.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 2 of Cultural Osmosis. Yes, I'm with this wonderful guest here. We have Cassem Ozzy. Say hi to the camera, everybody.
What the?
So, as you know, the goal of this series, when there's a pop culture thing going on, and all your friends talk about it so much that even if you haven't seen that particular show or what, you know everything that happens anyway. That's what's going on here. So today we're going to talk about the large-scale fandom known as, I think it's Pokemon. Is that what it's called?
It's pretty fresh. I've only recently heard about it. I've heard recently that it's the most successful franchise in human history. So I don't know how I missed it.
It's definitely not been around since the 90s. So let's hop right in. So I guess my first question, just so that the people can know, is why do you like Pokemon more than other fandoms, say like Harry Potter or Marvel or whatever? Why is this like your go-to fandom, would you say?
Well, I think it's just plain and simple. It's just the best one, hands down. And that's the end of the discussion. No,
Thank you for
I don't
coming.
know. Yeah, and that's the end of the podcast. No, I don't know. I like Pokemon because the monsters are cool. Pokemon are cool, I guess, and I grew up with it. Um, to say that Pokemon is like a big deal in my life is kind of an understatement. I think I can almost every single Pokemon up to like I don't even
Oh
know
yeah, it's
six.
insane. Your level of
Yeah,
Pokemon knowledge is insane. I think I know from about this. I know up through the Sinnoh region. That's about all I know. So I don't know what gen that is, but
that is four.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the extent of my knowledge. But like Gen 1 through 4, I'm like a huge fan of. Like you said, grew up with it. The creature design is just so cool. And it's really about the adventure, I think, with the video games. It's like very unique in how it's an open world concept.
Yeah. And especially with like the games specifically. When I was a kid, I liked the show. Obviously, everybody did.
I just
Um,
recently finished the show, so that was interesting to see because I have a few issues with some of the characters, but that'll be later. So yeah.
that's all right, man. That's all right. Jelly donuts and all. But no, I think I enjoyed the games a lot because it was like, you know, you're a kid exploring the world, catching these dope ass friendly monster dudes who, would turn into other things, which is cool. But as an adult, um, watch a lot of YouTube in my free time, like when I'm going to the bathroom or not being able to sleep late at night. And I found this
I
channel.
heard that.
I found this channel that focuses on like competitive Pokemon, like uh,
Hmm.
like like MLG almost type. And
Hmm.
I've been watching a lot of those. And as I watch those videos, I'm like, yeah, okay, so here's what I think I'll do. So I'm gonna beat Pokemon Stadium 2, and my team is gonna be this character, and this character. But to get those characters with the right move set, I have to go to Gen 1 and then get a Fearow and trade it to Gen 2 and watch out for a glitch that can make it so the transfer process it can't breed and like all this silly crap really that I'm not going to do right now. I'm currently stuck trying to catch Raikou, which I'm not sure if you're familiar
Is that a
with
new one?
Generation 2,
Oh,
but
the Generation 2. Okay.
mm-hmm.
I don't,
So
I don't have all the names memorized, but if you show me visually, I could know like all of them, I think.
oh yeah. Well, in Gen 2, to catch the three legendary dogs or whatever, so that's
Oh yeah,
Suicune,
yeah, yeah.
Entei, and Raikou, to catch them, they randomly spawn in the map, and you have to go to where they are and then catch them, obviously. But every time you switch from one route to another, they move where they're at. And where that's at is semi-random. So if you fly to try and get closer, they'll move to the opposite way,
Mm.
and it's just a real pain real pain in
I
my
get you.
ass.
Well,
So
it's
that's where
fun
I'm
though.
at.
It's fun though. I think, and just as a final note before we move on to other questions, I think it's one of the few things that like I think it teaches kids to love animals, I guess broadly to say, is because like the entire point is like taking care of these like monsters, which are pretty much animals and stuff, and it's like
Mhm.
exploring the world and all that. You can't get that on Grand Theft Auto. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, unless you want to kill a Pokemon and take its money.
Oh, I'm
No,
all about that. All right.
hell
Well,
yeah.
with that said, let's move on to our second question before we get into the meatier questions later on. We're talking specifically the show. I'm talking Indigo League here. Who would you say, just so the audience knows your preferences, who is your favorite character? Favorite
I
human
mean,
character?
just correct me if I'm wrong. Indigo League is not the one that has the is it Tracy, the dude who like kind of like takes pictures or whatever?
He's in one episode.
Is he?
I
Okay.
think there's a guy who
Um,
takes pictures. I don't know if it's the same character, but there's one episode centered around that guy.
is there? Okay, yeah. In that case, I'm still gonna have to go with the OG, Barack. All right. He's a goof, or he's inappropriate.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say my favorite's Brock. He's just it's comedy 101 with Brock right there.
Hey, he's great. And his jelly donut line is awesome.
But
So,
take my trusty frying pan and use it as a drying pan or whatever.
oh, how could I forget that?
Oh yeah. It's something about how like when he's with Ash and Misty, he's like the group's dad and he's very serious and he's like, yes, I take Pokemon very serious. But the second like a grown woman shows up, just cannot control himself.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah, no, but that would be why. I remember as a child seeing the jelly donut scene, and I think I may have had that on VHS or something because I had like two or three tapes of Pokemon, and I would watch them a lot.
mm.
And I swear to God, I saw that scene all the time. And I remember looking at it and be like, that doesn't look like a jelly donut. It's a triangle in white and black. I actually distinctly remember my mom coming downstairs and she was like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm watching Pokemon. And I was like, and I paused it and I showed it to her. I was like, Mom, have you ever seen a jelly donut that looks like that? And she's like, no. And this is pre me having access to internet. So like the idea of a foreign country called Japan was not available to me.
I was like,
So
that's not right. That's not how donuts look.
I was like, that's not a donut. But I was like excited because I wanted a real jelly donut like that. Because I was like,
Well,
it's
you,
just a
you should
different shape.
you should make one. That should be your goal.
Oh, that would be dope.
But going off of that note, I'm glad we agree on the same favorite character. It makes me I watching the series as an adult though, I've really grown to love Team Rocket as well though. It's just their style of humor is very meta, I would say. I think the joke that I point to that represents that is like in Pokemon the movie 2000. They literally turned to the camera and they're like, you know what? Maybe in the next movie we'll have a bigger role.
I forgot about that. That's awesome.
So, yeah. But speaking of favorites, let's move on to some categories now. We're talking now. You can go first. Now here we go. I can see you preparing for the question right now.
Oh
Let's
no.
go. What is the singular best Pokemon game, and what is the singular worst Pokemon game? You have 5 seconds.
Oof.
Go ahead. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my god.
Please elaborate
The
in your
single
opinion.
best Pokemon game. Hmm. So that is a very hard question for me. I have played.
It's clearly Pokemon Go is what you're gonna
Oh
say.
yeah,
I
I
know.
love it. It's the most true experience of Pokemon. No, it's really hard to say. I think I've played almost every single Pokemon game, like official non-ROM hack Pokemon game,
Mhm,
with the exception of Pokemon Conquest for the
mhm,
DS, I think.
mhm.
Um, Or at least I've watched it be played,
I
I
get, I
should
get,
say.
I get what you mean, but what do you think
Yeah.
is the best?
That's quite the question because in my heart,
I feel you dodging the question, but I'm gonna need an answer.
okay. So in my heart, it's got to be Pokemon Crystal.
I
Just
do
that
remember you
one.
saying, yeah, you have the Pokemon Crystal walkthrough on your shelf or whatever. I
Yes, I
remember.
did. I still actually I have it over there somewhere now. But yeah, no, I definitely think Crystal might be my favorite. I couldn't really tell you why. I think it's just because the Pokemon in Generation 2 are some of my favorite.
Mhm.
And I thought there was just a lot of cool stuff in those. I think in terms of like game mechanics and just how well made a game is, I would probably have to say something like Platinum or maybe Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I actually haven't beat either of those, Heart Gold or Soul Silver
I've
myself, but
heard
I
people really talk about Heart Gold and Soul Silver in a positive light. They really rave about it.
yeah,
Um,
which again goes back to it being my favorite generation, Gen 2.
mhm.
So I
I
think
would
that's
say, yeah. Well, for me, I like I said, I'm a little biased because I think it's the one I played growing up, but I think the single best in terms of like the world, the game mechanics, smooth flow, and then also like the legendary Pokemon that are at the end. My favorite is Platinum. I would say Platinum's such a good time, and I've heard other people say good things about it. And I just recently beat it during quarantine because I was so bored. So like, caught Garatina on my birthday. I was real excited about that. But like, I would say yeah, Platinum is my favorite out of the ones there were. But there's not like a strong evidence why. I think you could make an
yeah.
argument for most.
And I think in fairness, most of the games are essentially the same. Like the first generation, it's hard to say that it's the best because I don't know. I feel like when you're talking about which of the games is the best, a lot of people get hung up on the Pokemon as opposed to like the game itself, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
I get what you
Um,
mean. Like people, a lot of people I've seen on like post strings and stuff, people like rave about the Gen 1 stuff, but the game mechanics in those ones are just so limited that like it kind of takes away from it.
it's hard to go back. Like I grew up with Blue. Blue was my favorite for a long time, um, and I will always have a special place in my heart for Pokemon Blue. But I mean, the game's broke. Like it's just I think the speed run right now for the game is like under 2 minutes or something like that. So, and they do that by rewriting code using items in your menu. It's insane, but
Good God.
I mean, it's broke, and Gen 2 is not too much better, but yeah, in terms of that, that's kind of my stance on it. But in terms of the worst Pokemon game,
Yes, let's talk about what do you think is the worst Pokemon game? Because I have one. I think it's controversial, but if you have one,
ooh, I'm excited to hear what you got to say. So there's a lot of runners up for this
what's your
for
runners
me.
up? What's your runners up list?
So in no particular order, I will pick a penultimate shit one, but like I'm thinking, Hey You Pikachu. I'm thinking uh,
Hey, you
Pokemon
Pikachu.
Conquest, and is that it? Or am I not remembering any? Like Pokemon Troze or one of those like shovelware type Pokemon games.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like I can't say that Hey You Pikachu is the worst for me because they were trying something new, and at the time it would have been really cool. Kind of
Speaking
going
of
with
trying, this is not to like. I'm just wondering, have you played Detective Pikachu? I'm not saying it's bad or not. I'm just curious.
oh no, I have not. I actually forgot that was a game first. If I'm being honest.
The movie is better, but
Oh, I'm sure. Have you played it?
no, but yeah, Ellen was saying that the movie is better than the game
Mm.
or whatever. If my memory serves, but please continue with your runners-up list.
It's all right. It's all right. So, she's probably right. But yeah, Hey Pikachu is cool in the sense that you could talk to your Pokemon, which I know as a child I would have thought was really cool, and I did want the game. Um, but I think in practice it was one of those things that was like a cooler idea, and the technology wasn't maybe there yet for it. So I think that's kind of null. I'm gonna nix that one right now. Pokemon Troze, I've never actually played, and just based on the design of the Pokemon, I was like, I don't care. I don't give a shit. It just doesn't look cool to me. So I think the penultimate worst one's
Yeah,
got to
what's
be
your
Pokemon Conquest.
Pokemon
I mean,
Conquest is your
I
worst?
just remember looking at it and I was like, this game looks like it could be cool. And then I tried playing it and I was like, oh my God, I don't care at all. And I stopped, which is probably not fair of
Is it just
me.
too much dialogue based, or like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My Pokemon game, I'm here to catch mons. I'm here to slap ass. All right. And that's it. Give me a Poliwhirl and I'm done.
I'm here to catch pocket monsters, and that's it.
Don't talk to me. I don't listen. When I play through Pokemon games, Ellen gets mad at me. I don't go into buildings and talk to people because I don't care. Even if they have items, I'm not going to use them.
That's how you get items.
I know. I'm not going to use it. I don't like ever, unless I know I have to do it. Like to get Eevee in Gen 1, you have to go to the top of the building and talk to the dude. But even as a kid, I was like, I don't care. I don't care.
That broke me.
Just give me the Eevee. Just give it to me.
Oh, that just broke me, because Platinum is so based on you have to go into every building you come across to beat the game that I'm like, yeah, when I play Pokemon, I don't step through a single door. I am strictly in the tall grass
unless
from start to finish.
Unless I know for a fact that I'm gonna like get an item or something, I don't need to read some flavor text. Be like, my mom caught me a Pidgey. I don't give a shit about your Pidgey.
I'll trade you a Steel for a Haunter.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
But
all right.
Yeah.
Well, here's my spicy hot take. I played it several times, and the person I played it with kept trying to get me to like it, and I could not get behind it. I hate Pokken Tournament. Like the Pokemon Tournament fighter, its roster is really weird. Like they chose like half famous Pokemon, half like D-list Pokemon, and like it's like a roster of like 8 Pokemon you can fight between. And first, just from like a gameplay standpoint, I remember like the Chandelier Pokemon was like 3 times stronger than like Charizard. Like you could sweep the floor. It's just like the power balance was not fixed in that game. And I was just like, this is a bad tournament fighter, and the Pokemon they chose for this tournament fighter is not good. Like I don't care about Pokken Tournament.
You know, honestly, I can't say I disagree with you that much. I still say that Conquest is the worst one, in my opinion.
Oh, yes. But in my personal opinion.
Yeah, but no, I do agree with you to an extent. I enjoyed playing Pokken Tournament when I rented it for like $6 for a week. And I remember Ellen and I were going to play it, and we did. And at some point, I kind of like learned how to play the game a little bit more than she did because, you know, she lived in Cedar Rapids and would come visit me. And so she came down to play it with me after, you know, a few days of me having it ahead of time. And I got better than her because of that extra time. And like she just had no chance of beating me, and it wasn't fun for her anymore.
Yeah, it's also like if it's a game where it's like if you take 10 minutes to know like a certain Pokemon's moves, you will sweep the floor every time. Like it's just, which goes to the thing. It's like it's a very unbalanced tournament fighter, but it's an interesting concept. I think like having
I
a
like
game,
the way it looks, you know, but yeah, I don't know. I was tempted to get it when they were like, Blastoise is a DLC, and I was like, I fucking love Blastoise.
It's me too.
In fact, actually, when I was a kid, like I said, I had Pokemon Blue, And I thought because Blastoise was on the cover, you had to choose Squirtle.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Mhm,
get you.
mhm.
Well, that was your mistake.
No, I'm glad. Perfect mistake.
Well, let's keep this train going. I have a few of these. Let's move on to in our best worst segment. Let's move on to best. What do you think is the singular best? I don't know how many you've seen. Best Pokemon movie and worst Pokemon movie. I
Ooh.
don't know how many you've seen. I've seen 4 or 5,
Yeah, it's been a long time. I recently rewatched the first Pokemon movie, I think.
which is a classic.
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 So, I mean, man, that's tough because I remember I don't. The problem is I don't remember which movie it is. I remember the one with Slow King in it.
Oh, that's the movie 2000.
That's probably the one I remember like more fondly. But that's not entirely true though, because I saw that one and I saw the first Pokemon movie in theaters, and then I saw the Jirachi movie. I
Hmm.
think it's like Wish or Forever Dream or
Oh,
something
that's
like that.
Pokemon 3 maybe. No, that's the one with
I
Entei, I would say.
mm, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So
oh,
what do you?
actually, you know what? I can tell you now. The one with Entei where he's like a dream or something,
Hmm.
the worst one for me. I
Thank you. All
actually
right, I agree with you. All right, let's just get this out of the way. We both think Pokemon the movie 3 is the worst one.
I
Um,
100% think that. I, I like the unknown. I think it's cool, all the stuff that they do. That's fun to watch. But
mhm. That movie was just
my
like,
God, they made Entei not cool at all.
oh my God, I hated Entei watching that movie. I was just like, I don't care. And it also, it wasn't even Entei. It was a vision that the little girl was projecting from the unknown. So Entei's not even in that movie. Just like a
And
psychic.
I hate it. I hate that. That's actually the thing that I actively dislike. I remember when I was watching it again recently, because I
Hmm.
guess now that I think about it, Ellen and I watched that one too recently.
Hmm.
And I was watching it and I was like, are they really about to make him not actually Entei? And it wasn't. And I was like, this is stupid. And I don't like this movie right now.
uh, I would say that one, or I just recently, like 2 weeks ago, watched the uh, the Pokemon Platinum movie, which was Garatina and the Sky Warrior. And I was like, I just came off of beating Platinum, so excited to watch Garatina on the big screen. And then, like, the Sky Warrior was. Shaman is the most annoying character in any film ever made, and I physically was pissed off for the entire like 90 minutes. And there's like, you ruined Giratina on the big screen for me. I hope you're happy.
Classic move. Um, I actually have not seen that one.
Don't
What's
check
the
it out.
general gist?
Well, it's like God, I don't even remember. I repressed so much of it. It's like they like Ash and Brock and Dawn come across Shaman, and they have to get it to this pasture so that it can fly right away and be free with the other shaman. And it just makes fun of them the entire time that they're doing this. And then in the background, there's like a few cool scenes of Garatina in the distortion world, and like he's like doing his own thing, and it intertwines a few times.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, you didn't really sell it to me all that well, so I think I
Well, I
may.
mean, when I'm starting with like Pokemon 3 and Garatina the movie are tied for worst Pokemon movie, I don't think you should watch it.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
flipping to the reverse now, what do you think is the single best Pokemon movie?
And I assume we're including all Pokemon movies, not just like just animation or
All Pokemon
just
movies.
okay. I mean, it kind of depends on the perspective you're kind of looking at it. I think when I was a kid, probably the first movie was maybe my favorite just because it does have a lot of like really deep scenes,
Mhm.
considering
It's
it's a children's movie.
it's really solid, and it does hit home on like in the emotional aspect, and also it's a good movie for beginners too because they establish the world and everything. So
Yeah, exactly. So I think that might be, as a child, that was probably my favorite. As an adult, I man, I mean, Detective Pikachu was great. I mean, I loved that movie. I thought it was
literally,
awesome.
I agree with you 100%. Like I would say like the first movie is good. There's not like a lot in scope. Like the whole movie takes place on an island, so like it's really good. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. Recently, me and Lindsay watched Destiny Deoxys. That movie was really good. I would say that's tied for Pokemon the first movie in terms of like a really good solid story. But man, like Detective Pikachu is so good.
I mean, they had a 3D Pokemon. They had and they looked so good. They looked so good, Detective
I
Pikachu.
want to every time I watch that movie, I want to live in that movie. Like
Oh yeah.
the Pokemon depicted as looking real, like, is the coolest thing that will ever be. And you can say what you want about the story being kind of like straight and narrow, like it's kind of for kids, but like the animation and the world they build is amazing.
I would love to see a game set in that world, or at least it referenced to in some point.
Hmm.
So yeah, no, I mean Detective Pikachu was awesome, and I think that having Ryan Reynolds play Pikachu was surprisingly like I shouldn't say surprising because he's a really great actor, but surprising in the sense that I knew him from a variety of goofy movies from when I was younger. Like I can't remember the name of the one, but he plays this guy who like in high school he was super overweight and like a
That's Just Friends. I watched it last night.
yeah. It's like and I remember watching that on Comedy Central and then like he gets all hot or whatever and then oh my god, there's a
Hi,
wild
Ellen.
Ellen.
No, God damn it. I thought about crawling.
um so like I see that and that's kind of like how he's imprinted or the movie I don't know if you've seen this movie called Waiting. Have you heard of that?
Oh, where he's like a waiter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that movie quite a bit. You could just walk.
Shut up.
um so I mean that and then Deadpool obviously, but those first two movies are like imprinted on my brain when I think of
See,
Ryan
that's
Reynolds.
what was like. Well, the trailer for Detective Pikachu came out.
Causing problems.
God, when?
The trailer came out.
The trailer for Detective Pikachu came out, and I was like, he's literally just doing his Deadpool performance, but like with a different coat of paint. So I was like, I wasn't excited, but then I watched the movie and I was like, it's a little different. Like he's doing his own thing now, and he does like a phenomenal job as Detective Pikachu. So I would say like, yeah, it was really good. I was just like hesitant at first.
Hmm. But yeah, no, I mean, I wish that we'd be able to get access to those explicit Detective Pikachu scenes that he did because those I'm sure that because Ryan Reynolds is hilarious as it is, so
Hmm.
I'm sure that those would have been great. But
All right.
yeah,
Well, here we go into our final thing in the best worst segment. I just want to we'll just do this one really fast because we're going over time. But I want to say what is the best and what is the worst starter?
see now that's where I get real controversial because like
Don't do it, man. Don't say Poplio. I know you. I know you want to say it.
no, I mean I will always have a place in my heart for my good boy Squirtle. All
Good
right, I
one.
love me a Squirtle. He's a little blue boy. He's got a shell. Um, I will say I also was a big fan of Snivy. Actually, I know not a lot of people were, but I really liked Snivy myself.
That's a interesting take.
Yeah, and then Totodile. Everybody loved Totodile from the show.
Mhm. Mhm.
I just thought Fur Alligator was awesome when I was a kid, and I still do. Like, I think about that, and if I could have like a 5 foot alligator friend, Like that would be awesome. Just
He's
hanging
just
out.
he's just real happy. Cyndaquil's pretty cool looking though too. I would
Oh,
say, yeah. Um, as a kid, I always chose water types starting. So like loved Squirtle growing up as a kid in elementary school. When I played Pokemon Emerald, I think I chose Mudkip like 3 out of 4 times. Gotta love Mudkip. And then
sick.
and then Piplup, like Piplup's okay. He's just a penguin. It's one of those Pokemon that it's like is a penguin. So, but like after seeing Detective Pikachu, I really like so I gotta say Turtwig too. So like any of those.
Yeah, I would actually really agree. When I played through Gen 4, I think I had Pearl. I know I had Pearl.
Mm,
I definitely chose Turtwig just
hmm
because I was like, it's a grass turtle. I liked Squirtle.
It's
And
like, and then
Torterra,
Torterra is like badass. Like a
oh yeah.
turtle with an island on his back.
Yeah. Plus, it comes like it's sort of referencing. I think in its Pokedex entry, it reads something like ancient people thought that this Pokemon carried the world on its back, which is a
hmm
reference to some myth about
hmm
a turtle who did that.
hmm
So I don't know. I think that's cool. I could be wrong in that. I know Stephen King references that too, so maybe it's a Stephen King reference. I don't really know,
I think
man.
it's just a very common mythological thing that
Is it?
turtles. Yeah, but yeah, it's very cool. So
Hmm.
anyway, now let's move on to our very controversial segment in the Pokemon episode. Now, this is the segment of what is your single hottest take in all of Pokemon. I will go first just so you have an example. My hottest take, which my spicy hot take, is that all Pokemon games after they were stopped named after colors suck. That's my hot take. I think Pokemon games that are named after colors, solid. As soon as they were like Shield, like Sun, like they're bad. That's my hot take. I don't know if you would disagree or not.
Well, I hate to say this to you, uh, but I do kind of agree. I disagree in well, okay, actually, before
It's
I
o- it's
disagree,
it's it's okay to agree. This is just like my
right.
controversial opinion is what I mean by hot take.
So, before we commit though to what I'm about to say, do you consider ruby, sapphire, and emerald colors or gemstones?
Other colors, I would say.
Okay. And now that we have that clarified, I do agree with you. For sure. I Pearl and Diamond were okay. My brother really liked Platinum, but that was sort of the age where I was drifting away from Pokemon, I think. Then Black and White came out, and I actually really did like Black and White. The Chandelier Pokemon is one of my favorites, as is the Snow Cone.
What about the Pokemon that is just a pair of keys? You like that one too?
I hate that I kind of like that Pokemon, and I don't let myself like it because I judge myself too hard.
Well,
But
it's yeah, something to say that like Black and White was the first Pokemon game to get a sequel to like there's Black and White 2, which they've never done
hmm.
before. But yeah, continue.
But yeah, no. So I mean, I mostly agree with you. I think Sun and Moon was just not great. It was the first Pokemon game that I actively was like, you know what? I don't really care if I finish this, and I stopped. And then I got Ultra Sun, and I don't even know how far I got into that. Not very. I think I was like, I'm done with this almost immediately.
hmm
So I was really hyped for Sword and Shield. Actually, Ellen and I took a day off of work when it came out, and then Ellen and I spent a 3-day weekend. We went to the midnight release, stayed up to like 4 or 5 in the morning playing it, went to bed, and then got up the next day and kept doing stuff. Um,
X and Y as well. X and Y. Mhm.
you didn't care for X and Y?
Well, it's not a color, so like it's
That's
bad.
true. That's true. I thought X and Y was, uh, I don't know, because it was the first 3D Pokemon game, like on console, the first true RPG Pokemon game. And
Except
for
your
me, I was like,
except your roots. I want all Pokemon to be cardboard cutouts, and they.
well, you know, it's actually funny you say that because a friend of mine was talking about another friend of mine's thoughts on it. And at the time, I just thought that 3D Pokemon were awesome. And I still do to an extent. But he was like, I'm just bummed out because the sprites always had, like, they were always different, right? So in Pokemon Generation 1 to 2, a lot changed, not just graphically, but in terms of how the sprites were positioned, and it just sort of fleshed out what these characters looked like, so that your imagination took hold, as opposed to essentially being shown this is what it looks like 3-dimensionally. And some Pokemon benefited from that. I'm struggling to think of any, but okay, something like Pidgey, right? Pidgey looked really cool in X and Y. So there's a scripted fight where you fight a Pidgey first off, and it's like it's referential to the first game, and you know, it just looks cool.
The first episode of the show too, where Ash was chased by Pidgeys, wasn't he? Yeah. Oh no, he was chased by Spearows.
Yeah,
forget
but
it.
I mean,
Just forget that tangent.
No, but I mean, Pidgey's still involved. So I thought that was awesome at the time, but then a friend of mine pointed out, like, yeah, but now they're just going to reuse the same 3D models, sprites for each game. And that has actually, at the time, I was like, no, they're not going to do that. And then I was like, well, maybe they would. From a business standpoint, it does make sense to do that for longevity. But when they announced that not every Pokemon was going to be available in Sword and Shield, and now they're kind of releasing more Pokemon with DLC, I don't know. I don't think that's cool. I think it's a huge misstep. I understand it from a business perspective, though. But Sword and Shield, ultimately, I kind of feel bad for kids now who don't get to really experience what made Pokemon, the early generations, really cool. Which
it's the same exact argument people use in benefit of graphic novels, where it's like you show 2 frames of like a fight happening, and it encourages people, that is so much water, and it encourages people to like fill in the rest with their own imagination, and it's like a really good tool for imagination. And then you just have like the same 3D fight animation every time. There can be an argument against it.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. I wasn't aware of that, but I mean, it makes sense now you say it. But yeah, I don't know. I was pretty bummed out with the whole Pokedex situation in the new games. I think they're okay. I mean, it's fine, but it lacks the same sense of adventure that I think older Pokemon games did. Just because, I mean, most of the routes are like one direction. You pick it, you go,
Oh my
you hit
god.
the end, you go to the next sequence, you hit the town, you go to the next like there's
Oh, that sucks. That's not like
it
plat
definitely does.
like the map for Platinum was like a bowl of spaghetti. Like it's just like it's an adventure. Like I remember I got stuck at one gym for a little bit, and then like you just walk around the rest of the map. You do whatever you want. Like it's a world. It's not like a path. So
Well, and on that, the most recent Pokemon games, Sword and Shield, have really kind of made me rethink the structure of Pokemon, because now it's very basic. It's very easy. It feels like it's made for very little children. But I mean, I started playing it, I think, when I was like 6. I mean, I wasn't incompetent enough to not figure out what to do. So I don't think it needs to not have challenge. And not to say that it needs to have so much challenge that me, as a 26-year-old who understands like tactic and strategy in games like that, not to say that it needs to be like really challenging for me, but you know, I think as a kid I would have been a little bit bored with it too. But I guess the thing I'm thinking about is how other people who are not involved in Pokemon can make better Pokemon games. Specifically, I'm thinking of 2 things. There's a ROM hack that came out called Crystal Clear, and I was watching a YouTube video about it, and I may or may not have played it a little bit. And basically, basically it's like it's Crystal, but you get to create your character. You get to start in either Kanto or Johto, whichever you want. You get to pick.
really cool.
Oh, it's awesome! It's like you don't need to pick from just Squirtle and like the traditional starters. You can start with a Porygon or a Smeargle if you want. Yeah, right. So like in the whole map is just open. There's just a lot of cool stuff that I feel Nintendo, or I should say the Pokemon Company, is not taking advantage of, considering uh, how well their game would promote adventure. And
So
like,
basically, like, in summary, like your overall hot take is like that the 3D animation is not as great, and then like the new Pokemon games are not as creative as they could be in terms of like third-party Pokemon games.
oh no, I got on a tangent. My hot take is that Pikachu is stupid.
That is the hottest take. You know, you're literally trying to take down like the mascot for the series as a whole.
Oh yeah. Pikachu is the dumbest. I was going to say that earlier. We forgot to mention it. But Pikachu is the worst starter. It is stupid. And I'm sticking to my guns on that
What
one.
do you have? Is he not cute enough for you? Do you hate Ryan Reynolds Pikachu? Is that what it is?
No, I actually like Ryan Reynolds Pikachu. I like the character of Pikachu in that movie. The Pokemon of Pikachu is cool in the first game because he's like, oh, it's an electric type right before the rock gym, so it helps you out with the second gym leader. That's great. I just don't care. I just don't care about Pikachu. Like,
That
he's cool as a character in the TV show.
I think we
But
finally found a take that's too hot to handle. Well, like he's such a lovable character in the TV show.
hmm And I think that's why I was bummed out, because like his lovability is not necessarily tactical success in the games. And I know that sounds kind of messed up to say, but my team, bro, I gotta have my team. My squad's gotta be dope. They gotta be
Right.
strong as shit.
Tell you, I love my Psyduck, and no one's taken that away from me. So,
Golduck was one of my favorite water types when I was a kid.
your favorite's Octotank now, is it? Is it not? Or
You know, Landon, it's really hard for me to have you ask me that question as if I could answer what my favorite Pokemon is. I actually have to break it down by type because I can't, like, I can't identify it. Octillery is one of my favorite Pokemon.
gotcha.
But yeah.
I respect that. So, since we are moving on over time, let's move into our final segment, which is discussions of popular trends and controversy. So, well, we can go as fast as you want here, but basically, I'm going to say a few things that have been points of argument for the Pokemon fandom, and we're going to discuss your hot takes on them. So, first of all, let's talk about recently Pokemon the first movie was remade entirely, shot for shot, in 3D CGI. How do you feel about that?
That it was, Landon. That it was remade. I personally have a deep-seated hatred of 3D CGI in any form.
I agree.
Loved Jimmy Neutron. I loved the shit out of that show. But it, like, in the anime I watch, when it's all 3D, if I see a 3D anime, I tell Ellen, even if she wants to watch it, I'm like, I'm not watching it. And that's it.
I think I agree with you. Like 2D animation is beautiful and takes skill. 3D animation to this day is ugly, and like I hate it and I don't want to watch it. So why would you remake Pokemon the first movie shot for shot, but the only difference is it's 3D animation instead of 2D. It's not even like you updated anything.
I don't even know, man. Like, I get that some people like 3D animation for that kind of thing, and 3D works. I mean, Pixar and Disney, it's great. Those Bugs Life was awesome when I was a kid, right? I don't know why. And it seems like mostly anime cannot get 3D to look right at all. And I don't know if it's because, like, Pixar, when they're doing it, not only is it, well, I guess the Pokemon movie is a 3D movie, so that doesn't count, so never mind. But with Pixar, they're going for like a human style. They want it to look real. And I feel like in
Like
anime,
yeah, like
or at least
The Incredibles is fine and stuff like that. Like yeah.
exactly, but something specifically like Pokemon, oh my God, don't try and make it look anime. That's the problem. is that the anime. I mean, there are memes about this, right? Like anime body structure is so exaggerated that it doesn't look right. Like your eyes would be enormous and all the way separated like this. You look like an alien, and I
Like,
think that's the issue.
I would agree. Oh, I'm glad you agree. Let's move on to our next point of contention. It's been said that this is just you're getting drilled in the hot seat. It's been said that new Pokemon in the recent generations look really stupid and are uncreative. Would you agree with this, or do you think there's some new Pokemon that are worth defending? Like I said, we talked about a little bit. There's like keychain Pokemon and stuff like that, and I think they're starting to get a little weird.
I definitely agree that they are starting to get a little weird. I don't know when the keychain Pokemon, whose name escapes me right now,
The
but
Chandelier Pokemon as well.
okay, hold on though. All right, I love that whole line a lot. I defend it. He starts off as a little candle, and he turns into a lamp, and he's a chandelier, and it's awesome, and I love it. That said, though, I do acknowledge that those are a little strange. I do think that it's in the case of Chandelure and the whole Litwick line. I think it's hard to say because that's a ghost Pokemon. So in a sense, it's like it's a ghost that's taken over this item. So it's like a poltergeist. That's fine. I get that. It's
But
still a little
the
bit.
ice cream cone Pokemon. Now, what's your defense for that one?
I fucking love it. I don't have a defense. I just love it. But it's I don't know, man. It's hard to say. Like in the new game, I don't know. I liked a lot of the newer Pokemon. Like one of my favorites is definitely the centipede fire type bug, Salizzlepede. I think
Salizzlepede.
that's yeah, it's a great name, first of all. But it is cool. There were a lot of cool new ones. I
Well, like,
thought there were.
do you like Litten and Poplio and all those too?
I do like Litten. I don't think Incineroar makes sense in that line, personally, just because it goes from like a kitten to an adolescent cat and then like a bipedal wrestling cat, and I'm kind of like, what? Incineroar is still cool, but I don't know. I just would have liked to see him differently. Poplio, on the other hand, I hate.
Poplio!
He's cute as shit, and I get that, but I was like, I ain't trying to have no cute ass Pokemon. When I was a child, I had a turtle with cannons that shot shit. And then my next favorite was a tank. So, like, I don't know, man. And the tank's pre evolution was a Pokemon shaped like a gun. So, I don't know. That's up to you. But I will say, Vanillish is tight. And that's a fact, Jack.
uh, that was spicy hot. All right, let's move on to our next point of contention. Let's talk about the whole Alolan region and what they're doing there. Like, I just gotta say, I yes, in evolution in real life, there are species variations, and that's really cool. But the whole thing of we're gonna take like Grimer or whatever and make him green is like it's screaming that we ran out of creativity. Like we're just gonna go back to like Gen 3 and start changing some like one or two colors, and that's what we're gonna do. But that's my take on it. What's your thoughts?
Oh, I really disagree. I get where you're coming from though with the lack of creativity in a sense. Um, Especially in the Alolan region, it didn't make sense to me that in this world that's based on Hawaii, that suddenly you had like an ice type Vulpix. I, I don't know. I don't know that much about geography. In fact, I suck shit at geography. But as far as I know, Hawaii doesn't get that cold. Um, but I very well could be wrong. So I don't know. I really like regional variation. I
Well, let's
do
say,
think.
yeah. Like I said,
Oh, I just-
that's like how actual evolution is like, and I like that they're doing that. But I just can't get past the idea of the heavy, strong feeling that like they're running out of creativity. But like, some of the variations look cool, but like I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, I definitely I agree with you in a way and I disagree with you in a way. I agree with you in like how it sort of feels like a lack in creativity, but to me, I do really like it. I think it depends on the Pokemon for me. Like Alolan Vulpix and Ninetales are cool looking, and I like them. And Alolan Sandshrew. Sandshrew was always one of my favorite Pokemon also, so big ups on that. But I don't know. Like I really like regional variants. I think it's a fun way to mix up something familiar, um, or at least it is for me because I grew up playing all of them. It's fun. I like I say I disagree with you in the sense that it's just fun. It's just I don't know because at the same time it's like yeah maybe we didn't get a whole new Pokemon or a whole new line, but that also means that we didn't get something like just bafflingly dumb, like a keychain, you know? Like, yeah, we got
Yeah,
Galarian, Zigzagoon, and it's not that different. Then its evolution is a little bit different, it's a little goofy, and then they added a new evolution for it based on that region.
mhm,
That's
mhm.
cool, and I'm down for that. But yeah, I don't
They're
know.
about to.
I'm just gonna have to disagree with you. I do like it a lot. I like it a
They're. I mean,
lot.
like I like the theory and concept, but like maybe if they did a little bit more. I think the thing that just pisses me off is that they're not. They're pretty much just changing the color. Like the body type changes a little bit, but like yeah.
Yeah, I that's the part I would definitely agree with you. Is that I was more excited about like because I don't know how much you know about Sword and Shield, but it seems like going forward, um, and I could be totally wrong, and this is just my game theory, but it seems like going forward, each Pokemon game is going, each region, I should say, is going to have their own um, regional variant of Meowth. So like Alola had the dark type one, and then Sword and Shield has a steel type one. And I think that's really cool. I think that makes sense because there are so many different types of cats. And I can see how, if they pick like we have one seahorse Pokemon and that's it. And then at some point they were like, okay, well we have two seahorse Pokemon, but that's it. I see how that can limit it a lot. Hello. But I don't know. I'm a big fan of regional variants myself.
Yeah,
But
I get you. I understand. So moving our final point, Pokemon Leaf Green. Should it have been released?
okay, so leaf green and fire red, or just
Yeah.
leaf green?
No,
Okay,
both. Either or.
okay. So yes and no. Yes, because you get updated graphics. Yes, because in Gen 3 there actually is no way to get Gen 1 Pokemon and Gen 2 Pokemon outside of the ones that immediately show up, because there was a coding error between Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. No, in the sense that I didn't give a shit about those games when I was a kid. I didn't buy them. If my neighbor gave me Leaf Green, and then I was like, "Oh man, this is great!" And then they got rid of Cinnabar Island, and I was like, "What?" And then they added a bunch of other islands, and I didn't get that far because when I found out they got rid of Cinnabar Island, I was like, "No." Um, I mean, it makes sense canonically in the game, I guess, but I ain't.
We ain't about that. Ain't about that one bit.
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
uh,
mm-mm.
and with that, I believe that concludes all the questions I have in our very hard-hitting conversation about Pokemon. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I always like talking about Pokemon. One quick note before, because I know we're wrapping up, but Pokemon's actually got some competition for the first time ever,
That's
and I'm not talking
awesome.
Digimon. Yeah, right. I'm not talking Digimon, which is Ellen's favorite series. I'm talking about this indie company that came out with a game called Temtem, and it's essentially Pokemon. I mean, most people who play it end up calling it just Pokemon anyway, based on how it is. Like there's monsters, you fight them in grass, you catch them in a little ball thing or in a card or something like that, right?
I don't remember.
I think it's in a card. Doesn't matter. Anyway, 10-10. Um, I haven't played it yet, but I do want to. But the only difference is that it's an MMO as opposed to a single player RPG,
Mm.
which I don't know how well that's going to play out necessarily. I'm curious, but a lot of people were calling it the Pokemon killer when it was super hot for a minute. So
That's interesting. We'll have to see
yeah,
how that pans out in recent
oh yeah,
years. But yes, thank you so much. And well, if you didn't know anything about Pokemon, you know stuff now. Thank you very much.